Welcome everyone, this is Table for Four. I'm Gavin,
I'm Matthew.
I'm Connor. And I'm Gibson.
and today we're talking about the Splinter Cell series. Now, for those that don't know, Splinter Cell is a Tom Clancy game, first off. It follows a man named Sam Fisher, who is a member of the NSA, specifically under Third Echelon in the newly activated Splinter Cell program. It's top secret initiative in the NSA and everything, and it's a really, really cool stealth predator game kind of thing. In this talk, we're going to be talking about the original Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory, Double Agent, Conviction, and Blacklist. We're going to leave Essentials off because we just need to forget about that game. That was for PSP. And we're not talking about 3D because that was a port of Chaos Theory with some Conviction add-ons to it to DS, 3DS, something?
3DS.
Handheld game that doesn't matter. But yeah, so Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell.
It's a game.
It's a really good game. I don't know how many of you guys have really played it.
No.
All
I
that
didn't play the first one.
I haven't played any of them.
It's another take on the tactical stealth gameplay. I think it's probably the other big name besides Metal Gear Solid that actually is known for that type of stealth
Absolutely,
gameplay.
yeah. I completely agree with you. I think the controls are kind of awkward at first. It's nothing like Resident Evil tank controls, like we were discussing
So
the last time. But I definitely think they're awkward at first, and they take some getting used to, and especially with controlling Sam, and getting around, especially getting up close to enemies to do like a silent takedown. Sometimes you move a little too close, and then whoops, the alarm's off and mission failure.
And you give him a little bump and you're like, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
That didn't happen.
oh yeah, it's a love tap, man.
The first game was really finicky. Like, if you did anything that might be considered against the mission, you just got the game over screen and
Oh,
you
yeah.
had to go back.
You could not get an alarm or
I was
anything.
gonna say, was it really that strict?
The first game was really strict.
I think if it was like you can't kill people, it wasn't just killing people. I think if you shot a lethal pistol, it also ended. Maybe not.
No, you could still shoot out lights and stuff. It was really interesting in the first game because you had some parts that they were like, hey, no lethal weapons. Like, no, you can't kill anyone. You have to be silent. And you'd have to play around that. And then some missions, they'd be like, lethal force is authorized. So then you could go around and kill people. But a big part of the game was after you knock out someone, if you knock them out, they can be woken up again if a patrol comes by and everything and sees them. And of course, then the alarm is raised. And that's bad news bears. However, a big, big part of Splinter Cell is audio and visual. It's like they have a light meter that tells you how in the shadows you are on the heads-up display. And the audio meter was not added until Chaos Theory, and we'll get there in a little bit. But you should hide the bodies in a dark area too. Whether you shoot out the lights or just find a dark area or whatever. Because after you leave an area, the game does an automatic sweep, and if it finds any bodies out in light that could be found by a person, it sounds the alarm and it's game over.
What?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I hit this guy in the light, but no one's coming this way. It's
Exactly.
gonna be all right. And you
Like,
leave, and the
you
game's like,
kill-
none of that.
Or
Get
kill
out of here.
everyone in the area. Like, you're like, no one can find these people. I've taken out all the cameras, killed everyone. Like,
That sounds.
I win right now. And then you leave the area and this game automatically sweeps through and you lose.
Dude,
It's like, hey, all these guys were left in the
Yeah.
light. That's not the dark.
I hit
You
this guy.
lose.
I hit this guy in like the little nook of the hallway, but his little toes are peeking out. The hallway, so I don't know. It doesn't count.
It's really interesting how you can abuse the light feature, though, because you have 4 sections. And of course, if it's on the far right, which is a light green color, you're like a Christmas tree. They're gonna see you from a mile away. But then the opposite is like pitch black on the left side, and that's where you want to be most of the time. If you look at the cover of the game, you see Sam has these goggles on. They have like night vision and thermal vision on them, which is really useful for getting around in the dark and everything. However, if you don't have those on, you really see how pretty this game is, with how it uses light and darkness to contrast everything together. It's a beautiful game. And especially for when it came out in 2002, it's some really good graphics for the Xbox. It's not like clunky or anything. I think it looks pretty good. And so just especially with all that lighting, it's amazing. So it's definitely worth playing not being in night vision mode the entire time, which I know a lot of people tend to do just because you can see everything nice and clear. But it just, I think that subtracts from what they were really meaning to do with the game.
I remember when I went through the first game, I kind of avoided using the night vision, but that's just because I didn't like how bright green everything became.
Yeah.
Especially in some of the not so dark areas. It annoyed me. So I was like, I hope I don't have to use this night vision.
It's a really interesting game, and the way they have the AI, like, if you shoot out a light, they're going to notice, and they'll walk over and check it out or something. Or if you even turn off the light, they're like, who did that? And they'll walk over and turn it back on. However, you can use that as a distraction. So, like, if they're on the other side of the room guarding a door, and you're, like, in the shadows of a room, you hit the light switch, and then you just run around as they're coming over to turn it back on and go through the door they were guarding.
I just meant, like, when you leave the light on in a room and you leave, Dad's like, turn the light off, what are you doing? And he's like, okay, Dad, turn it off. So I was like, who turned the light off? What the heck? Turn it back on.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And then, of course, you're playing with silenced weapons and everything. You have a nice pistol, and then you have an F-2000, I believe. And you get all these, like, special rounds on it. You get, like, sticky shockers, which is non-lethal. It shocks the person and drops them where they're standing. And you get air, like, ring foil rounds, which the first hit stuns them and allows you to run up and knock them out, and the second hit with it would knock them out, so it's non-lethal as well.
So it's like one of those big air cannons you see kids have where it's just a tube with a plastic string on it, and you pull it back and it shoots a puff of air. That's what it sounded like to me.
It's out of the weapon, the F-2000, which is military grade weapon. I've never really looked at it, honestly, what it shoots out, but it shoots out more than air. You always, like, see something come out in that. I think that's like the
so
ring
it could shoot
foil.
like
I
a
think it's
metal
just,
ring.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's just air powered, so it's quieter. I'm not a military weapons expert, I'll be honest.
I'm just saying, it sounds like that little kid toy that shoots a puff of air.
I know, yeah. That's what I think about every time I use it. But and then you get, like, sticky cameras and stuff that can stick to the walls, and you can make them whistle and cause distractions.
Oh, yeah.
And you can even, like, spout out gas to stun the enemy. But if you run into the gas, it'll, like, damage you too, which is pretty cool.
You don't have any gas protection.
No gas mask. And it's just a really great game. And they even have, like, cameras that you have to avoid when you're walking around, and you can shoot out cameras and stuff because you can hear them in, like, the next room over. They're really loud. And they're not like those hidden cameras that, you know, top corporations use now today. They're like those scrolling cameras that you saw back during this time. And you can shoot them out, but they also have, like, armored cameras. And you just have to flat out avoid those. You can't shoot those out. And so it's really interesting how you have to, like, use the environment around you and get through that. And there's no one way to do, like, any mission. There's, like, 5 different routes to get through if you wanted to.
Yeah, I remember when I first started playing Splinter, I was playing with a friend of mine. He go, and I go, okay, I'm going the right way, right? He's like, I mean, probably. There's like 20 different ways to go.
Yeah. There's so many secret ways and everything. It's fantastic. They even have levels where it's like being in, like, a cooler or a freezer, where they have, like, all the that steam. It's not steam. I don't know what else to call it. You know what I'm
Water
talking
vapor?
about? Yeah, it's the water vapor going around. You just like can't see through it, and your night vision doesn't help all that much. You have to use like the thermal. But for whatever reason, the AI can see through it really well. So you're just at a huge disadvantage when you're on that level. But it's really, really cool level because if you don't have any of the vision on, you can see maybe 3 feet in front of you. And the rest is just like white, like a blizzard. And it's crazy. So the way they use vision in this game is absurd.
It sounds super technical, but there are a lot of things that you're talking about that just make me feel like the game could feel really not cheap, but like maybe I shouldn't complain about difficulty too much, but it's just like
no, I mean,
It's meant
if
to
you
be
have a
difficult.
dog-
yeah.
But it's stealth, like, don't get noticed.
yeah, it's just like the fact that they see better than you in the
I
steam
think
or whatever.
That was just like poorly coded AI. Honestly, I don't think they accounted for the steam.
probably
So I think
didn't
they just
intend that.
left it like how the normal AI is on the other levels. I think that was just a coding error. And of course, like you can climb across pipes and stuff and get in air vents to get all your secret routes. And if you're in like a hallway that's narrow enough so that you can like touch it on both sides, you can like jump up and spread your legs out, and you're like up in the air, and people will walk under you. Of course, people don't look up naturally, and you can
course
like
not.
drop down and like elbow the top of their head and just knock them out right there. It's like one of the most satisfying
That-
things to do.
Boosh. Sounds completely like cartoony, but it's like that does sound really satisfying. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's pretty fantastic. And of course, you have like zip lines and stuff in here too.
It really made you feel like a secret agent.
Yeah, yeah, you were a predator, and like you knew who was gonna win. You cannot run and gun in this game. Like you will die, flat out. You stand no chance. Like if you start taking any bullet damage, if you're not like reacting before you start taking the damage, you're dead. If you notice that you're taking damage, you're already dead. It doesn't matter.
It sounds.
Oh, I got nicked. I better just go lie down on the floor and let him play.
I remember playing one of the earlier Splinter Cells, and I realized that I stepped out into the light, and a guy had noticed me. I saw his weapon coming out, and I was running back through the door, and I got nicked a couple shots, and I was down to like a quarter health. And I was like,
Jeez.
oh my gosh, I almost died. And now this guy's running after me. So you have to prepare. You got to be ready.
I should be dead.
Really though, like, but it's realistic though, because if you start taking military grade weapons and you start getting shot, Gibson, calm down. Don't throw your water bottle, man.
I mean, it left my hand.
It jumped. Are you saying it has AI?
I'm saying
Wait,
this
what?
artificial. It wanted to go underneath the table into the darkness. It was trying to avoid.
It's Sam
me.
Fisher.
My water bottle is Sam Fisher.
I don't even know where we're going with this.
I don't know.
What was I saying?
Talking about military grade. How, if you
Yeah.
can't really take a lot of
No,
bullets in
you-
real life.
If you get shot with a military grade weapon, you're gonna be on your butt. Like that's really strong for how fast it's going, and how much power they put behind those weapons. You're not gonna be standing up after you get shot. It's just done.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very quick.
Something that I didn't really like. The plot's okay in Splinter Cell. I mean, it's based off of a book series, so there's a lot to it. But going through the game, it's just it felt really short-sighted. There wasn't ever a long-term goal. It was more of like, okay, you have to rescue this hostage, and you rescue the hostage, and it's like, am I done? While you were rescuing the hostage, we saw an email. And this email was this other guy. It was like, okay, I guess I'll go to this other guy. When we found the other guy, we got another lead to this next person. And it was just like, it was a constant, like, an Easter egg trail
where
Yeah.
you find one egg and you're like, I see another egg in the distance, and it's just this constant stream of short-term goals.
I think that adds to the storytelling of it, though.
You think so?
You guys like didn't play a whole lot of Splinter Cell, but you start out with like the training mission and everything, and that shows you like all the basics, shows you the ropes.
Yeah.
Because Sam Fisher is getting back into the game, he hasn't been there for a while. So
Yeah.
as you're going through, they describe to you the situation, what's going on, how like war is imminent, whatever problem there is, and you go out and you're like, okay, I know I need to get to this guy and I need to get information out of him so that we can get further down to who is causing this conflict. And so you go after him, you get the information, like, okay, and like there may have been like some attack going on at that point because there's plenty of terrorist organizations in this world of Sam Fisher here, but
He attracts them.
yeah, I guess I don't know, they just spawn.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Sam Fisher's around. We gotta
Yeah.
make a terrorist organization.
So you just go around like getting information from people from different computers, and the enemies may try to like destroy computer systems during certain levels, so you have to make sure to take out the enemies quick enough so there's at least one computer that you can access and get the files off of. For Grimm, who is, I don't know her full name, you just call her Grimm because it's too long. and
Anna
complicated.
Grimm's daughter.
Anna Grimm's daughter?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Connor knows.
So,
I was like,
so I mean,
like she's the tech expert that you have, and Lambert is your like, I guess the head of Third Echelon, and he's the one that directs everything. And even in the first game, it's blatantly aware that they don't tell Sam everything, and that there's like, we tell you what you need to know, and you get us that information, and it's just like a need to know basis. That way, like if Sam is compromised, if he breaks under interrogation, which it's Sam Fisher, he won't break, but theoretically,
But
if he were
does,
to,
he
he
can't
wouldn't
say
know
anything.
everything to
Right.
say. And that's why they do that, which is pretty cool. But as you progress through the game, at the start of each level, after like the first one that you play, they show a news broadcast. I think it's WNM, World News Media, if I'm right. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think that's it. And they will basically like recap, like if the terrorists were attacking an embassy and you were in the embassy doing Sam Fisher things, whatever it is Sam Fisher does in an embassy, they would report. Of course, the reports on the WNM news media
they don't talk about Sam because
doesn't
he
talk
wasn't
about it.
there.
Yeah, because you didn't leave any evidence. It was this terrorist organization or this police force or SWAT team, something doing something here, and you're like, and he like flips through like the channel, it seems, because it skips around to like different parts of like information that you've been getting and everything, and you're like, yeah, I know, I lived that, and you'll like skip to the next one. I lived that too, and you'll skip to the next one. So.
Where's the view?
And so it's that kind of storytelling, and then you're on to the next mission, and you live through all that, and then the media is reporting about it afterwards. Of course, not about what you did or anything, but just about like what was going on around you when you were in there.
He's just like bored.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is my day off, and all they're talking about was yesterday.
Exactly. And another like part of the storyline being introduced is his daughter. What's his daughter's name? Do you know?
Sarah.
Sarah. That's it. Thank you. So like he'll try to call his daughter before he heads out on missions or something, or his daughter will call him, and you can tell he doesn't feel good about not being able to be there. Like he really wants to be a good dad, and that's why he left the game initially. But they needed him to come back, so that's why they retrained him and have been sending him out. So he has a really special relationship with his daughter, and he wants to be there for her, which kind of leads into the storyline later on in the games.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to talk about on the first game?
I have a better understanding about the series than I did when we started, so that's good.
I mean, there are other things like the enemy will use. Of course, they're all like teched out with
Yeah.
high-grade military weapons, and then they'll have like wall mines and stuff, which is pretty interesting. And you can deactivate the wall mines too.
Used to be sneaky.
And they even have levels where it's like, oh, I know you were busy doing this, and you're doing a great job, by the way, but they just activated a bomb.
You should
You
stop
should
that.
probably defuse that.
I know you're doing what we sent here to do, but something came up. You should fix that.
Yeah, it's kind of important. All right, but that's Splinter Cell, and on to Pandora Tomorrow.
Pandora Tomorrow.
Now this game starts out with you in like handcuffs, and it shows out the lock picking mini game right off the bat, which I thought was pretty cool. Because back in the first game, if you used a computer or something, you just used a computer. Like there wasn't the hacking mini game in there yet. I don't think the hacking mini game was added until the third game though, Chaos Theory. But they implemented lock picking, which was pretty cool. Made it a little more intricate, like you're actually in there, and you have this optic cable that you can hook under doors so you can kind of look around.
Oh
And then you have like options on how to open the door. You can open it slowly, like stealth open, or you can bash it open, or you can just plain open it like a normal person. So
yeah.
it's really,
Sam
really,
Fisher's
yeah.
no normal person.
I mean, it depends on what you need to do. Like, if there's a guard on the other side of the door, I'm not just going to open the door. I'm going to bash it.
You're like, hey, buddy, can you get out the way? You're blocking the door.
I really liked the optic cable. It added a lot of tension because I remember I would play the game and I'd be like, I don't want to just rush through the store, so why don't I put my little cable in? And as I put my cable in through the door, I can see the guards trying to open the door. It's like, I need to get out of here.
It's like I'm in the wrong spot
Oh,
right
crap.
now. Oh my gosh.
I was like, I gotta go.
Like we've talked about 2 games so far, and 2 games in, it sounds increasingly technical, and it sounds like
Well,
Oh, dude,
it's not
it
supposed to be a game that you can just.
Oh
rush
yeah,
through.
that's exactly what
This
it
isn't
sounds
Call
like.
of Duty right here.
No, I understand that. I don't
The
wanna call
Splinter Cell, son.
I think it sounds like the objective is not for you to just ram right through it.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
And I understand that. It's just
A lot of
The later
fun-
games
I'm
you
open.
can ram through.
it's like
Yeah.
overloading right now.
I thought a lot of the fun in the games was being technical and being
yeah.
like, I know a guard's gonna come through the store, so I'm gonna put a little sticky bomb with a camera and wait for him. I thought that was the appeal for me. It's like, I want to be the secret agent, not some run and gun dude.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the purpose of the game. And the first Splinter Cell was actually made by Ubisoft Montreal, and the second one was made by Ubisoft Shanghai. So it's a little different. And this Pandora Tomorrow is definitely a lot more colorful. Like the first mission isn't a training mission, like it was in other Splinter Cell games. Like it has like all like the training pop-ups, like, oh yeah,
Like
you can do
tutorial
this
bits.
as you're going through the first like half of the first mission, which is like through a village and everything, and then you're in a building, and it's really interesting because you get this piece of information from a guy, and it's encrypted, and Grimm's like, oh, this is nothing, man, like I can do this, and it's in another language, and that's the kind of thing, like that short-term goal, and then they're like, we
Yeah.
need to get it translated, but there
Right.
just so happens to be a translator in this building. So you have to go find the translator, but she's being guarded. And somehow Grimm has gotten in contact with this translator, and you know exactly how she's being guarded. There's one guard in the room next to her. She's locked in her room. And he's standing out on a balcony with night vision goggles on. And it's that weird, like, I can see in the dark, but now you can see in the dark too.
Yeah, it's like, I played the whole first game hiding in the dark, but I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. And it's just like, this is the first person you've ever encountered that can see you in the dark. And Lambert this is the only game where Lambert has a different voice actor. And it's really weird.
You like
hired
start the game
someone
up,
else.
Lambert comes up, you're like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah, and everyone notices it, and you're just like, wait, why does Lambert sound like Lambert in the original in Chaos Theory, but not this?
Wait,
This
so
isn't
the,
Lambert.
did you mean like the
Lam-
characters notice it? Or like
no,
No, like the
everyone-
player.
I
no,
like
The characters are like,
characters.
your voice has changed.
That's what I was
Lambert."
saying. I thought they were like breaking
No.
fourth wall just to be
No.
funny.
Lambert,
I was like,
do you have
that
like a
doesn't-
cold or something? That sound different.
But Lambert comes over and is like, You know, he's wearing night vision goggles, and in this courtyard that you're trying to get through that he can see you in, there are spotlights that are just automated and going. It's like, if you stand in the spotlight, he won't be able to see you. And it's really odd. Because it's an infrared night, I know you're kind of confused. in that look.
Yeah.
Because if there's a really bright light, it's blinding
Okay.
on those night
Oh.
goggles.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
So it's
sense.
like if you stand in the middle of that light, he won't be able to see you,
That makes sense.
which doesn't make sense because you
Okay.
cast a shadow.
Oh.
That's just me though.
Nah.
That's just me though.
No, you don't.
Apparently, Sam Fisher has no shadow. He is the shadow. But so you just walk in the middle of the spotlight and you get through it just fine. And this was one of the levels where at first you can't use any lethal force. You can't be seen, nothing. And then because it's a terrorist organization causing a ruckus in this village, when SEAL team comes in, Lambert's like, oh yeah, by the way, now you can use lethal force. It's all good. Like, don't worry about it, man.
Now it's alright. Go ahead.
As long as it looks like someone else did.
Yeah, I mean, SEAL team's coming in. You can rock it, but this game is a little more forgiving because alarms will not fail the mission. Not every mission. Some missions, of course, have to be like complete stealth, but it's a little better. And instead, in the missions that don't have to be complete stealth, if you sound an alarm, enemies will equip like flak jackets and helmets, so they're harder to kill.
You thought we were hard to kill before. Just wait.
I mean, they really weren't. I don't know, like in the original game, you know how you could do that wall jump up to drop down on someone? There was another mechanic with jumping where you could jump off of a wall like you're about to start that without a wall being on the side, just so you could reach a higher ledge.
Okay.
And that mechanic was taken out in this game. And then they also changed the lighting meter. Instead of 4, it was 3. It was lit up somewhat in the dark and in the dark. It was a lot more defined. And they also added so that like if you're carrying a body, that the indicator that tells you which part you're in will start flashing when you're in a part that you can drop the body in, that it won't be seen, which was pretty nice. That way you couldn't accidentally mistake, I think he's in the dark, kind of.
Does the game think he's in the
Yeah,
dark?
because you're fighting
That's
the
what's
game at that
important
point.
here.
They
And-
added a whistle.
Yeah, you can whistle. Was whistling not in the first one?
Apparently not.
Oh, you could just like pick up objects like bottles or something.
Yeah,
and
you
throw
could
them.
throw objects to make noise, but you as the player couldn't make noise to attract
Could your
people.
camera whistle? I thought your camera could maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I guess if you threw out a camera, like a
you
portable camera,
Like
maybe.
the sticky camera, like if you hit a wall with it, I thought you could use, like, make a distraction, it would whistle or something. I don't know. Maybe.
The first game was a lot more about tools and using them.
Yeah.
So adding in the whistling feature was kind of different.
Yeah. And to get around whistling in the first game, you could always just stand up and jump, and it would make noise. And then you could crouch and just walk around them. I've seen plenty of players, yeah, I've done that too. It's... But to add on to that, the jumping mechanic, if you do have the two walls next to each other to do that split jump, you can do another jump off of that in this game. So they took out like the double jump off the wall jump thing, for a split wall jump. I don't know what to call it. Yeah. And this game feels a lot less dark just because of the color they added into it. Like the first game, or the first level, excuse me, takes off at like sunset, and it's really beautiful, but it's definitely not as dark. So, and then it adds in binoculars that you can use too, so you don't have to like zoom in with your f/2000, which is pretty cool.
Don't actually accidentally shoot somebody.
Oh yeah, that would be bad.
Oops. Didn't mean to do that.
Mhm.
No one pay attention to that.
I definitely did not.
And they added in SWAT turns. I don't know. Do you guys know what SWAT turns are?
No idea what that is.
It's like, if there's a doorway, and I'm taking cover on the left side of the doorway, I can SWAT turn to the right side of the doorway, and if you do it, you won't be noticed, even if you plainly go through light.
It just doesn't. Alright, doesn't
Yeah.
So
register.
instead of having to press a button, get off the wall, run across the hallway, and press a button again to cling to the wall, you just
Yeah.
have a one button press.
Yes.
It
Sounds
streamlines
ridiculous.
the gameplay.
One thing that's always been kind of frustrating though is like the jumping, because when he jumps, he just jumps up, arms in the air, like he doesn't. It just,
It's like, no, jump
Uh,
forward.
and so like if you're trying to like jump onto a ledge, he'll jump up and you'll see him like start falling down. And you're like, no, and then he'll just like grab it out of nowhere, and the animation is just kind of awkward, and that's been in a lot of the games. It's just kind of funny to see.
Sounds frustrating.
It's really intricate though, and I didn't talk about this earlier either. Depending on the floor you're walking on, it'll make different amounts of noise. So if you're walking on gravel, you have to walk slower so you don't make as much noise, or else you might alert someone.
Oh,
This is like full out stealth. This is
that
realistic.
sounds like it. That's. Oh my
Walking on
goodness.
hardwood floor is different from walking on carpet or stone.
Well, you're right.
Yeah, and they put that in the games, and it's just awesome.
That's so much detail.
It's incredible. What else can we talk about in this?
In the first game, if you wanted to use like the optic cable or lockpick, you actually had to select it as an item that you were using.
Ah, that's right.
But in Pandora Tomorrow, they just kind of streamline it where you walk up to a door and it's like lockpick or optic cable, and you don't actually have to cycle through a menu.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was really well done. It definitely felt different because it was made by Ubisoft Shanghai, especially with the lighting. But it was done well. And then they added in multiplayer, that the spies of ShadowNet and the mercenaries of Argus. So you had spies and mercenaries in the second game, which was pretty cool. And the multiplayer is kind of based off of the single player campaign, where you had to like obtain the ND-133 and bring it to a secure location. So of course, like the spies have access to all these like hidden routes, and they're supposed to be a ghost. And then the mercenaries are like all out assault. Like if they see you, you're just gonna be dead.
Also, wasn't the mercenaries, they played in first person while the spies played in third person?
I never played the multiplayer, I'll be honest. So I don't.
I mean, I didn't have anyone to play the multiplayer with, but I remember
You
watching.
You played by yourself.
No, I
You hooked up another controller and
No.
played against
You
yourself.
just shut that down. No.
I remember watching X Play and other like G4 video game channels feature that
interesting.
mode, and I remember seeing that. I thought it was pretty cool.
That is
'cause
really cool.
It was a first-person mode in a third-person game. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's neat.
That seems like it'd be harder.
Yeah.
It is definitely harder. Like, you have to make sure you're looking around all the time because the spy could be behind you and you wouldn't know it because you don't have that over-the-shoulder look.
I think that's a really good mechanic for the mercenaries, though, to kind of offset their firepower, the fact that they can't see as well as the spies.
Right.
That's really cool. I figured I didn't know it was first person. Yeah.
Oh.
I thought you were about to say something.
No, I was just thinking. Pandora Tomorrow didn't really add too much.
It was released like a little over a year afterwards.
I mean, other than the optimizations they did, it was
Yeah,
pretty
they
much
did
the same
optimize it.
game. That's good.
I mean,
It just added to the story.
absolutely. It was kind of interesting seeing Ubisoft Shanghai's take on it. They definitely did a good job. I was impressed with it. I always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed Splinter Cell games, though. They also added a laser sight to the 5.7 pistol, so you could actually see a little more accurately where you were shooting. Yeah, that was really cool.
But like the enemies could like see the laser though, so
Can they?
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you like shine the laser through, and I'm like aiming at someone on perpendicular to the laser. Be like, hey, look at that laser. What's up with that?
That's awesome. That's so perfect.
I feel like, especially for an early game like this, there would be a sort of coding error because if I was a mercenary and I saw a laser pointing across from me, I wouldn't know whether the source of the laser is from my left or my right.
People don't usually just whip out a gun to aim at the wall. I mean,
Well,
at
that's-
some point the laser's gonna end, and there's gonna be like a dot.
Yeah, but say it was a hallway and you couldn't see where the dot was, so it could be on your left or it could be on your right. The AI would know where you are in
Like,
relation
what,
to the laser.
What am I aiming at? If I'm the guy with the laser, what am I aiming at? That
Well,
I'm
you
just
could
gonna
be,
aim
you could be
across
aiming
the
at another
hallway.
person. Imagine.
Well, then the AI would know I got a buddy over there. He's
Yeah.
not shining the laser.
I mean,
mean,
if the laser's moving, you can also tell
I guess yeah.
based off of like which side is moving more.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you didn't, did you?
Oh.
Shut down. Got him. All right. So let's move on to Chaos Theory, which is like one of my favorite games ever. It is such a great game because they added in to the HUD screen that audio, so you can actually see what is loud around you. Like if there's a helicopter going off or gunfire, like they'll have a marker like, okay, this is the loudest thing around you, and if you make more noise than this, you will be heard. So you can kind of plan around that, and it's such a great game. They added a knife in and everything, so you can like cut sheets and whatever, and make your own little secret passageways through stuff. It was just so well done.
Yeah, playing around the sound was really neat because in a mission where you could use lethal sound, you could wait for a helicopter to fly by and shoot your pistol, and because your pistol doesn't make more noise than the helicopter, no one would notice.
Except for the guy you shot.
Well, I mean, that guy's gonna notice, but hopefully
I'm pretty sure he's
killed him.
dead.
I don't know. It depends on where he shoots him.
I mean, we're Sam Fisher. We don't miss all the good spots.
But you're also you.
Well, I'm
You're
Sam
Gibson.
Fisher
Gibson is Sam Fisher.
in the game.
Newsflash.
Don't tell anybody, though. I'm undercover.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. In this game, they changed the AI so that the game doesn't automatically sweep for bodies to be found in light. They actually have to be found by an NPC in the game. So if you completely clear the area, take out all the cameras, all of the enemies, they will not wake up. The alarm will not be triggered. Which I think is a lot better.
It sounds
as far
more
as making-
forgiving at
Yeah.
the very least.
Most definitely. And then they added in a feature to the pistol. They took out the laser sight on it, but they added what is it called? It starts with an S, I think. Gosh dang it. Basically what this does is you can point it at any electronic, and when you activate it, it disables it, and you can like target a light,
Oh,
and
so, like-
it'll turn off the light temporarily. It only lasts for a little bit. Or you could target like a radio.
Did you shoot a little shocker or something?
It was like a laser kind of thing.
Oh.
It was really, really cool. And there was even like co-op and stuff. And in that one, if you just activate it, you actually had to hold it down to keep it going. So if you had like tripwires or whatever, like the infrared tripwires, in single player, you could just aim at it and hit it, and it would disable it for a couple of seconds. In co-op, one player had to actually continue disabling it the entire time, so that one player could walk through, and then that player would have to disable it in turn so the other player could walk through.
Okay.
And I think that was a good addition to it, because I loved that so much, because it just added so much to the game. You could be walking through one level, and there's this one enemy sitting on a couch listening to some music on the radio, has a light on in the middle of the room. Now you can target the light and have that blink out and sneak through into the next room. And of course he'll freak out and walk around the room and be like, why is the light off? What's going on? But my favorite thing to do was to turn off the radio. Because it's like, dang it, this thing's busted, and you go up and like smack it a couple times, and he's trying to get it to work again, and you're just walking right through the room. It doesn't even matter.
This guy had his tunes.
Yeah, man.
If there's no tunes, what's the point of being around?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
To do your job. I'm not sure. I mean,
when you're hired by a terrorist group, no one cares if you just kind of go
You
off.
just
for a
turn the other
second.
way for a moment.
No one's
That
gonna
door,
notice.
no one's gonna walk through the door
No
right
one-
now.
I mean,
No
no one's gonna
one
report
is-
you to a police officer or anything.
I don't. What?
But it was a really, really well done game.
Chaos Theory is kind of where I started to drift away from the Splinter Cell franchise. I bought the first 2 games. I think I only rented the 3rd game. Although I was a baddie, so I don't think I finished any of them. I just kind of played the first few levels, and I was like, this is hard. And
I
then
imagine
just
it is
stopped.
hard.
I imagine you play the first game, you don't finish it. Second one comes out, you're like, Mom, can I get this game? You're like, you didn't even finish the first one.
Oh, it wasn't.
He's like, don't worry, Mom, I'll finish this one, I swear.
It wasn't about me at all. My dad was really into the Splinter Cell games, so he bought them.
Oh,
Yes.
did he finish them?
I don't know, man. Maybe. But yeah.
And the last game is also they added the ability to shoot while upside down, so you can be hanging upside down from a pipe and shoot. To expand on this one, they added the ability to choke people while you're upside down and break their neck.
Dude, you're like a secret agent Spider-Man.
Yeah, pretty much. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the humor Sam Fisher has?
I mean, maybe.
Like, I told you guys about this earlier because I was watching some gameplay earlier today to refresh my mind about everything. In one level, Sam Fisher has to get into this elevator, but there's a guard standing right in front of this elevator. And so, like, you run up and you grab the guard and you can interrogate him. Of course, you're, like, holding his wrist for his pulse and a knife up to his throat or whatever. And the guy's, like, freaking out like they all do. But, of course, they all just shut up because they're like, he'll kill me if I say anything. And you, like, drag him into the dark elevator because there's lights on outside. And there's a friend of his patrolling. And the guy, like, as soon as you're in the dark, is like, is this a training exercise? And he's just terrified out of his mind. And Sam puts his hand up to his ear like he's talking to his communicator. And he's like, damn it, guys, he knows. Who let the cat out of the bag on this one? And he just goes with it. And it's the best dialogue ever. And, oh my gosh. And the guy just, like, feels so happy that he figured it out. And Sam's like, okay, dude, I just need you to play along. Don't tell anyone I was here, but just give me your name, your rank, and your access code or whatever. And,
While you're at it, give me your social and your address and all that.
like, and the guy just gives it to him with a smile on his face. And then the next thing you know, Sam's choking him out. Because...
Dude's so happy, though. He figured it out.
Dude wakes up, his buddy finds it like, dude, what happened? It was just a simulation.
yeah, it's all good.
Nothing bad actually happened.
And then there's another game, one of the earlier ones, where you have to get, like, information off of this guy's cell phone. And this guy's locked himself in a room, and terrorists are trying to get in because they don't want that information getting out. He took a picture of one of the bad guys that you know, like, his email name, but you don't know who he is. So the fact that there's a picture of him, you're like, we need that. So you break in, like, through the air vents and you drop down, and the guy's like, oh my god, don't kill me, it's okay. And Sam's like, dude, I'm from the phone company, I need to take your phone back. And the guy's just like, what? It's like, there's a problem with your phone, give me the phone.
You fell through vents to get into this room with me, and you want my phone?
That's exactly what the guy's like.
Like, do they hire spies now at the phone company?
And the guy's just like, okay. And gives him the phone, and you get the picture and everything. And of course, Grimm's like talking, and Lambert are talking to you through your communicator, and you say right because you agree with them. And the guy's like, right. What do you mean?
And like the opposite of left. Come on.
And Sam doesn't even acknowledge it and gives him his
Wow.
phone back and hops up through the vent. And the guys like start a bomb on the door to blow it in because the terrorists want to kill him, of course. And you can't get out through the vent because there's steam blowing through. So you like shoot a steam vent to let the pressure out that way, and then you just go on your merry way.
By the way, all right, fix your phone. Here you go. Also,
Sam
you're about
is
to
really
die.
Funny. His sarcasm and humor is fantastic. I
Sound like so many. Like
and
it sounds.
The thing is, he's so dry. Like you couldn't guess that this man was joking unless you knew him.
That's the best part of it. Is like, I mean, it's one thing to have like a sense of humor and good dialogue, but like accompany that with like just a really really dry character. It's like it's best. It's the
They
best
make it
thing.
work so well.
That's what it sounds like.
It's such a great game. And of course, at the end of the plot of this one, and we haven't been talking about the plot much, just because
So much.
There's so much, and it's so political too. It's so much to keep up with. And we didn't want to bore you with all those details. We'd rather you just play the game. Honestly, it's worth it. They're such great games.
This is just an advertisement for Splinter Cell.
There's one huge advertisement for Splinter Cell.
Definitely.
What else? And the AI in this third game, Chaos Theory, improved a lot. The enemies will like take cover, will lean around corners, will use squad-based tactics, and of course, naturally, they still react to changes in the environment. Like if you turn off a light, or if you shoot the light out. However, they react a little differently. Like if you just turn it off, they'll be like, "Who turned out the light?"
Why
And they'll go over and turn it back on and go about their merry way. But if you shoot the light out, they're like, okay, and they take out their gun and they're ready. They're Reggie.
Please. Let's talk about Splinter Cell.
I mean, I think Reggie could be in Splinter Cell.
Look, no. No.
And even like in this game, you can scare the enemies so bad that they just start like firing into the shadows. Or if you take out lights, they'll like pull out a flare and walk around, or drop a flare nearby and try to add more light to the area. It's really intricate.
That sounds that way.
The AI has
Oh.
gotten better.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I don't like about this game, though, is that if you kill civilians or friendly soldiers, you won't fail the mission.
What?
Instead, you'll be seriously chastised by your superiors.
They're like, hey,
Stop that.
Stop it.
Don't do that.
I don't like what you're doing.
But they did add a mission score to this game, which is different. They'll like tally up how many people you killed, how many people you knocked out, how many alarms were triggered, how many times you were seen. Like just about anything you can think of, they'll like tally up as far as what you could do.
Was this the first game that had that?
Yes, I don't remember the other missions doing that in the first two.
So,
So
what
you
were
get
the
like
points for?
as
like different trophies and stuff, achievements.
Okay.
But it was kind of like the start of the leaderboards as far as like what they have going now in the later games. So it was like
just like
to
rankings.
100% the game. If you're
Oh,
going
okay.
to, you can't kill anyone,
Yeah.
and you have to like keep your knockouts to a minimum and everything. You can't be seen, can't trigger alarms, that kind of stuff.
So, I guess not the important question, but my question that I think is important then is like, which do you think, like, because did you say Chaos Theory was your favorite game?
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the thing that introduced it, like the rating system or whatever, which do you think is better? Is just like seriously, just be like super strict on it, and like, because I'm asking this from a design standpoint now.
Sure.
Now that I think about it.
From a design standpoint?
Yeah, just like that actually seems really drastic now that I think about it. Instead of failing you, they just like if you just kill everyone, and it's
get a
just
bad
like
score.
you get a really bad score. It's like no, don't do that. But you still progress through the game. Is it
I
better to fail the
think-
player or?
I think it should have been a little bit of a combination between the two.
Yeah.
Killing civilians and friendly soldiers should be an automatic fail. That really irritated me. When I found out that you could do that, I was like, what? No. Sam doesn't do that.
But
Like, that
you
should
are
be an-
Sam.
But
That
when
should be an
Sam
automatic
I
fail.
am.
However, as far as the alarms not giving you like an insta fail
Yeah.
or whatever, I agree with that. Like how the enemies will become more aware, like they'll start noticing you a little more easily, or they'll don armor
Yeah.
to protect themselves. Which, by the way, from a realistic standpoint, if you have Kevlar on and you get shot, yeah, it's not going to kill you, but the bruise is going to be like the size of a basketball on you. So you're still going to be like knocked down and stuff.
There's still
And-
knockback.
I mean, you can still like break ribs even though you have armor on if you get shot.
Bullet ain't no joke.
No, man, like. But you'll live. That's the important part, right?
Hopefully, if your ribs don't break and like crush your lungs or
Seriously.
I
something.
mean, hopefully. You don't want to. No.
That's the goal.
Yeah. As long as you're alive, like, my score doesn't go down.
Just don't die until I get out of here.
I think in some cases the score is kind of negative. Like he said, that's not something Sam would do. It kind of breaks that character immersion.
Yeah.
But from a gameplay standpoint, I think it's actually pretty good because it adds replayability. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I killed 2 people. I wonder if I can do better and just not kill anyone.
And I like it for that too. I just wish that they didn't have, if you kill a civilian or a friendly soldier, that you don't fail the mission. You get chastised? What? No. Like, that's murder. Throw them in jail.
Uh,
In fact, in the next game, you have to avoid jail at the very end. Like,
wait, you have to what?
avoid,
Avoid
jail.
jail.
You get thrown in jail. It's no joke.
Like,
I mean, you can't go on secret special missions if you're in jail.
Just break out.
but with this game, at the very end of it in the plot, his daughter is killed in a drunk driving accident. I think the scenes that they showed in Conviction showed her like walking in an alleyway, and a drunk driver driving into the alleyway and hitting her. I don't know why a classy lady like Sarah Fisher was walking in this alleyway,
Walking in an alleyway. What's drunk
or how a drunk driver managed to get his car in this alleyway without crashing it beforehand. But it happened. And Sam, of course, is distraught.
Of course.
And that really shows in his later games. Like, really shows. But on to the next game, Double Agent.
Which
I
one?
guess we'll talk about like Xbox one, not next gen
Okay.
stuff, like original Xbox.
Okay.
I really liked what they did with this game. I'll be honest. They added in a feature where you were working for 2 different agencies, John Brown's Army and National Security Agency, NSA. And depending on your actions, you would like earn trust with one and lose trust with another. And there was like no good way to balance it. Like at all.
What?
Because they basically gave you options, like at the beginning to introduce it. JBA tells you to kill this helicopter pilot that is a good man and whatever. It's like not an awful person or anything. Doesn't deserve to just be shot in cold blood.
Yeah.
And the NSA, of course, is like on your comm, like, no, don't do it. And you have to decide right then and there, because you're a double agent. You're trying to infiltrate John Brown's Army, which is a terrorist organization, to take it out from within. And you have to determine, is this man's life worth the trust of the NSA or the trust of JBA? So you have to decide right there on the spot whether or not you're going to kill this man. And of course, depending on how you go through the game and do these objectives, changes the outcome. There's a total of 3 different outcomes.
That's crazy.
It's probably like a neutral outcome, a JDA outcome, and a NSA
There-
outcome.
That sounds fair. I don't know if that's true, but that sounds right.
That sounds what I would think of.
Let me see if I can find these outcomes.
While we're waiting, I just wanted to mention something interesting about Chaos Theory, the previous game. If it was made today, it would be given a T rating because the ESRB has become more linear, lenient
Yeah, lenient.
with blood and profanity
Yeah,
rather than the M rating it was given when it was made.
I believe it.
Neat little tidbit.
It's pretty neato. That's something I always say that I really want games like, oh, I want this game to have a separate ending. It's like multiple endings, a good one, a bad one, or like not even good or bad. It's just like I want more than one ending. And then when I get it on some games, I'm just like, did I really ever want this? Because it's just like, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, does it really change anything?
I mean, when you're looking at making sequels, especially with like a novel-based game,
Yeah.
you have to have a canon ending.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it says like in here the canon one is the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 one. That's the canon one.
sure.
Like Conviction takes place after the next gen version of Double Agent.
Well, then what the heck happens with Double Agent?
You gotta play the next gen one.
Yeah. One's a flashback and one's present.
What?
This
Yeah.
game's a flashback. Spoilers.
It's pretty bad. So with multiple endings, the bad ending is you have like different objectives that you have to save and everything.
Okay.
If you fail all three objectives, to save all three objectives, that is, or fail two, and your NSA standing is below 33%, you surrender to the SWAT team at the end, but immediately escape using